Question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Value Added Tax Act, Resolution of Parliament to approve Value Added Tax, Amendment of Schedule 3 Order. Whereas under Section 1091A of the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 1542, the Act, it is provided that the Minister of Finance may, by order published in the Gazette, amend the schedules to the Act. And whereas it is further provided under Section 1092 of the Act, that an order made pursuant to Section 1091 of the Act is subject to an affirmative resolution of Parliament, except where the amendment is to customs tariff headings only. And whereas the Minister of Finance seeks approval of the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 3 order to amend Schedule 3 of the Act by affirmative resolution of Parliament to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels. Be it resolved that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 3 order, which amends Schedule 3 of the Act to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels. Madam President, this resolution amends the Value Added Tax Act to allow the exemption on duties for personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels and imported during the period commencing on June 2nd, 2020 and terminating on January 31st, 2021. In response to the pandemic, Madam President, we are putting all possible measures in place to assist our people survive in those challenging times. As a result of the impact of COVID, we are aware that now more than ever, many people have found themselves unemployed and are depending on their family, friends, foreigners in the diaspora and elsewhere to assist them. This resolution before Parliament is part of our social stabilization plan, namely the barrel concession. The initial objective of the concession was to assist needy and underprivileged families during the Christmas season by waiving the contents of barrels received from relatives abroad from import duties and excise tax. Traditionally, Madam President, the concession period would begin in November of each year and continue until January of the following year. In order to cushion the blow from the impact of the virus, the government of St. Lucia felt it necessary to extend the date of this relief measure. It is no doubt, Madam President, that the barrel concession will provide much needed relief to the poor, the vulnerable, and many St. Lucians who have lost their jobs or source of income. Madam President, the terms proposed are well established in the resolution. Madam President, those are trying times. Even for the most well-off in our society and around the world, our people in St. Lucia are not immune to the horrible impact of COVID-19, and as such, we are making every effort to lighten their burden as much as possible. Some people may say that we are blaming COVID for everything, but the case is such that our entire world came to a halt as a result of COVID-19, and some countries are still under a cloud as we speak. The fact that we have had no deaths and all our affected cases were treated back to health does not mean that we are out of the woods as yet. We must continue to be vigilant and maintain all the protocols put in place by our CMO and the health team as we move to open our borders so that our economy can get the the much needed boost. Madam President, it is against this backdrop that I present this resolution to this Honorable House for approval.
Senators, the question is that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approve the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 3 order, which amends Schedule 3 of the Act to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Bills. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to move the first reading of a bill shortly entitled Labor Amendment Act.
Labor Amendments.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I beg to move for the suspension of Standing Order number 49-2 to allow the bill to go through its remaining stages at this sitting.
Senators, the question is that Standing Order number 49-2 be suspended in order to allow the Honorable Minister to proceed with the remaining stages of the bill at this sitting. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Leave is granted. Proceed, Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, the bill under consideration is the Labor Amendment Bill. The purpose of the bill is to amend the Labor Act, Cap 1604. Clause 1 of the bill contains the short title of the bill. In Clause 2 of the bill, Section 148 of the Act, which deals with layoffs and suspensions, is amended to include a provision for the minister responsible for labor to extend the layoff period when a state of emergency exists and to make the section applicable to the hospitality industry during the state of emergency. A new provision is also added to the section to allow an employee to make a request during the extended period for termination of the contract and redundancy. Madam President, this bill is very straightforward. It is really just an amendment to the Labor Act under the current state of emergency that allows an employee to request their redundancy pay after they have been laid off for a period of 3 months. This basically, Madam President, is a response, another response to our efforts in terms of combating the COVID virus. And we know that right now we have quite a number of people who have been laid off, and they really need, after a few months, they really need their redundancy pay or their termination benefits, because during the time that they are laid off, Madam President, they are not getting paid during that period. And there is, of course, for most of them, no sign of when it is that they will be going back to work. So this amendment allows them to request of the employee to ask the employee for their redundancy pay, which I believe will go a long way in assisting their unemployment situation, Madam President. I submit this bill. I fully support this amendment, Madam President, and I submit it for approval from my fellow senators.
Honorable Leader of Government Business. You read a second time? Senators, the question is that the Labour Amendment Bill be read a second time. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
An act to amend the Labour Act Cap 16.04 and for related matters.
Clause 2.
Amendment to Section 148.
Clause 2 stands part of the bill. Clause 1.
Short title.
Clause 1 stands part of the bill. Senators, the question is that the committee rise and the bill be reported. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Senators, I beg to report that the Labour Amendment Bill went through committee stage without amendment. Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that the report of the committee be adopted and the bill be read a third time and passed.
Senators, the question is that the report of the committee be adopted and that the Labour Amendment Bill be read a third time and passed. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Be it enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the House of Assembly and the Senate of St. Lucia, and by the authority of the same as follows. This Act the Labour Amendment.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned, sine die.
Senators, the question is that the Senate do stand adjourned, sine die. I now put the question. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Sitting adjourned.
Thank you so much for staying with the broadcast. Today we saw a total of 3 motions being passed in the House, including the motion be it resolved that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 3 order, which amends Schedule 3 of the Act to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other consumables. The Leader of Government Business, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, indicated that this will be very beneficial for individuals, especially as the COVID-19 pandemic looms, where individuals can benefit from the Barrel Initiative earlier than usual. The Labour Amendment Bill was also passed. Thank you once again for joining us for the sitting of Senate. I am Janelle Norville, and do have a good night.